The FEMA's 50% rule it's a misnomer. The term is 50% rule, but it's really substantial improvement, substantial damage rule. And essentially what it's telling you is you've got three tenets, right? First, it's any property that is located in a special flood hazard area, an SFHA. And it's any property that in those special flood hazard areas are A as an apple or V for velocity, flood zone. Velocity flood zones, those areas right down at the beach where the water's going to be coming in like a wave, right? And so those are the only properties that a 50% rule applies to. Now, there are other substantial structural damage rules that apply statewide, but when it comes to the 50% rule, it's just those areas in the SFHA, so not in the X zone, right, which is an area of less likely flood. We're not saying it's not in the flood zone, we're just saying it's less likely. Second is it's damaged more than 50% of the appraised value of the property. So the appraised value of the property is the actual value of the property depreciated, not including the land. That number can be derived from the tax assessor's office. Usually they'll take the tax assessor's office plus a multiplier of 1.2, 120%. So if you got a $100,000 building only, not including the land, your big number would be $120,000. Then they take the assessed value of the damages, and very often that's going to be for a 5-year period, right? So it won't be just our single event, but if you did a large remodel just 2 years before or 3 months before the damage to the property, then that's going to go into your bottom number that works against that larger $120,000 for this example. So we look at the appraised value of the property plus 20%, or you can gather an appraisal by a licensed appraiser who has experience in doing it according to the 50% rule. That sets up your big value. Then you're going to look at the value of the repair, not the mold remediation, not the contents, not a lot of the things that might go up into your big value, but the actual restoration project, that real hard construction services. What people don't always realize is that number should also be valued at the day before the loss. So if you've got an appraised value of $100,000 plus 20%, well, then you should actually be valuing the damage or the repair at that pre-storm damage value as well. The cost to remove and replace a roof might go up 30% after a hurricane. Well, you get to take it back to that pre-damage number. And then the third component is actual elevation, right? Or is the property elevated in excess of the base flood elevation requirement for that community, for that location? And in Florida, we have a 1-foot freeboard statewide. So say your base flood elevation is 10 foot, and that's what you find from the map. You could Google Fermat and you'd find yourself what your zone is, right? And it's going to say it's 9 or it's 10 or it's 11 or it's 12, whatever it might be. Well, in the state of Florida, we've got a 1-foot freeboard statewide. Different municipalities will have a different freeboard requirement. So you're going to need to reach out to your floodplain manager or research it and find out what additional increases beyond the base flood elevation are required in your community. Santa Rosa County, we have 3 and 4 foot of freeboard. Is that a significant amount of freeboard? Absolutely. It's a whole bunch of freeboard. It's a whole bunch of additional steps. It's additional money. Is it going to save Santa Rosa County over the course of the next 30, 50, 70 years? Absolutely. It's going to save us tremendously. Additionally, it's going to save us in CRS points as well. CRS, Community Rating System. The more points that you get in your CRS, in your following the requirements of good floodplain management, is going to reduce the cost of flood insurance for everybody in that community. So that's the 50% rule in a nutshell. There's multiple dials. There's even a dial that makes it not the 50% rule. In some communities, it's the 40% rule. So it takes a lot of attention to detail. If you can find a floodplain manager, I am one and have been since Hurricane Katrina. Each community has a CFM, and you can reach out to those folks, or you can study the statutes that the individual communities are adopting, or you can call me, and if I can walk you through it, it'll be my pleasure.